What up is Marcus Dynasty with that. We have the top 20 Dynasty Rankings. It's actually 11 through 20, 1 through 10. If you want that, that was in a different video. We have some very, very tough wide receiver decisions coming up here, and we have a free jersey giveaway. We're going to start off with number 11 right into it. It is A.J. Brown. He's 24 years old, and when we talk about a couple of the other wide receivers, they're a little bit older, and so this is when we start making the tough decisions. Now, if you're in a rebuild, this is definitely the player that you want. If you're a really big contending team, then maybe you'd want either number 12 or 13 on the list. But I digress. We are just doing this in a vacuum. And so when you have these rebuilding or competing teams, it does tip the scale when it comes into some of these tiers. But A.J. Brown, I mean, you're talking about the guy, even when he's hurt, he still finishes the year with 1,000 yards. And you saw what he did in the playoff game against the Bengals. He was amazing. And so when he's healthy and he's out there, he's awesome. His biggest concern has been his injury history. And he's had some knee issues as well. So that is the biggest problem. But the guy's a beast. The guy's a monster. And so I'm going to take him here at number 11. Wide receiver number 5 overall. Number 12, Devonte Adams. And honestly, I had such a difficult decision between 12 and 13, so I'm just going to say them both. It is Devonta Adams. It is Cooper Kupp. You have 28 years old. We have 27 years old. So you have this like age gap. And I feel like I thought Devonta Adams was 29. Maybe I put that. Honestly, I'm going to copy and paste this from last year. So I want this to be accurate. So let me make sure Devonta Adams. You get the real live scoop right here. He is 29. Haha. Let me go to Cooper Kupp. I want to make sure that because I thought he was it. This is what happens when you copy and paste it from last year's rankings. 28. I knew it. I was like, I figured that this was last year, so we're gonna switch that right now. 29. And 28. Sorry for the little. I was like, I didn't think they were that young. I would have them higher over A.J. Brown. But 1 year is a huge difference. So Devonta Adams, 29. Cooper Kupp, 28. Again, you look even at DeAndre Hopkins, who I thought was the best 2-3 years ago. You're talking about the best wide receiver talent-wise. You start getting into these ages where you start like, okay, the cliff is going to be happening at some point, and then all of a sudden you're going to be Julio. And then you're just going to be non-existent. Or existent to the point where you're like, I'm not that fantasy relevant, which is unfortunate. But that happens even to the best of wide receivers, unless you're like Randy Moss or Jerry Rice. But Cooper Kupp, Devonta Adams, Devonta Adams' ranking depends solely on two things: Rodgers and his situation next year. If he's a Packer without Rodgers, or he is a Denver Bronco, or no, not Denver Bronco. He's a Raider, and Rodgers is a Denver Bronco. It could be a huge, Adams could be moving down. I think Kupp is the safer play here. And honestly, we could be talking in a couple weeks, and I'm just be like, screw it. I'm putting Kupp ahead of Devonta Adams because I think Kupp is right now accelerating, and you have Devonta Adams, which, I mean, I think his value is only going to go down over the next basically 18 months, or even the next couple months. His value could take a bigger dip. Number 14, let's get through it. Dalvin Cook, he's RB6. And the biggest thing about Dalvin Cook, I mean, you're talking about a guy who's into that 26-year-old range. And so when we talk about him, we talk about Kamara, we talk about Eckler. These are the next three guys in a group of three, RB6, 7, and 8. And they are the guys that you look and you have this worrisome, because you see the same thing with Devonta Adams. You see the same thing with Cooper Kupp, maybe is a year or two before that. But you start seeing this peak and cliff going down. I talked about peak ages of running backs being the ages of 23 to 25. They're going to be past that. They're going to be into this 26-year-old range. And when you're in that 26-year-old range, you can be as amazing as you want. But you look at Cook. Cook has been injured a lot. You look at Kamara, who's had a horrible, weird situation in New Orleans. And you look at Eckler, who is probably the best example of somebody who's a late bloomer. That is a guy that you could easily see all of a sudden the Chargers draft somebody and Eckler's value just starts to not be utilized the way you want him to be utilized. And Eckler's been hurt. He's been having some issues the last 2 years. especially like hamstrings, and then he had an injury towards fantasy playoffs last year. This is just the category of running backs that I have the biggest concern with because they start to get over the edge. And so these are guys, especially in rebuilds, I am getting rid of. Rule number 1, sell your running backs in a rebuild. That is the key. If you don't, like Dalvin Cook should have been sold last year. Also, Dalvin Cook has a personal issue, which concerns me even more. But I think Cook has, I guess, I'm a Viking fan. we are splitting hairs here, but Cook, when he is playing, you can see that the dynamic ability. And if Cook, let's say, is healthy, if you told me you're going to get 14 out of the 17 games from Cook, and you told me that the legal issues were going to go away, Dalvin Cook is a top 3, I would say, startup next year. You have Jonathan Taylor. You have Derrick Henry, which will probably be up there just because Derrick Henry's Derrick Henry, and people saw that first 8 games of the last year and was like, whoa, I want that again. And then you're going to have the decisions between Cook, Kamara, Eckler, which are the 3 running backs here, which is why they're up here, because they're that highly valuable. Najee's going to be in there as well. He's going to be an argument. Potentially a rookie might even splash into that tier if Breece Hall goes to Buffalo, or Breece Hall goes to, I'm trying to think of another, Miami. Like, those are situations that might blow up a rookie running back. So anyways, older running backs, they're starting to get into that point where you start getting worried. And if I'm a rebuild, honestly, I sold Kamara for Swift. I think I even gave a little bit. I gave Kamara and a little bit for Swift. But 6 games into the season, because I wanted the running back that was 4 years younger. And I was okay to let Kamara do whatever he wanted. Like, I was okay with getting less points per game, but getting that safety of seeing DeAndre Swift, free signed jersey. What a great transition. I was okay. And by the way, 2,000 subscribers, we hit that. We gave that away to one of you guys, subscribers. I was okay with doing that. And that is what you guys should do with Cook and Kamara. And even if you have one of those guys, and we're going to talk about Elijah Mitchell down the road, we're going to be talking about J.K. Dobbins and Cam Akers and stuff. These are running backs that I am starting to take Cook, and I'm trading him away, and I'm getting package running back plus something. I want Cam Akers plus a 2023 first. I want Travis Etienne in a 2023 first. Just reach out there. Hey, okay, I'll give you it. Fine. You want Cook and a 2022 second, and I'll take the 2023 first and Travis Etienne. I'll do it because I want the upside, and I want the youth, and I want to avoid the cliff, because Gurley and Bell and David Johnson, they hit the cliff and they go pew, pew. You like those sound effects? I shook the whole camera. I was so passionate about that. Let's see. Number 17, Joe Mixon, Nick Chubb. That's 17 and 18. Honestly, the more I think about this, the more that those 2 guys might end up in a couple months start switching ahead of that. When we start seeing these ages to actually turn to 26 and we start seeing the offseason and stuff, we might see Mixon and Chubb have a little bit more longevity. Maybe not as high of a peak of an upside, but again, Mixon and Chubb, they're a year or 2 less in age. You're talking about guys that are running back 9, 10, and so that's where this is kind of a running back group here. I mean, you're talking about Cook, Kamara, Eckler, Mixon, and Chubb, 5 running backs right in a row from 14 to 19, 18. Yeah, and then we're going to have just a tiny break. We're going to go through some wide receivers here. So, number 19, number 20, and right now I have 19 as DK Metcalf. He was 24. And the reason that I have Deebo Samuel is he's almost 26. He's wide receiver 9. But the more I see San Francisco, the more I love Deebo. The biggest issue with Deebo, 1, is he's like a running back wide receiver, so will that continue? Number 2 is injury history. You even saw him limp off the field on one of the last plays of the game that San Francisco had. And another thing is, we don't know how the relationship between him and Trey Lance is going to accumulate. Trey Lance could ruin a bunch for Deebo, because then you're going to have this weird situation where Trey Lance is probably going to run more. And then you're going to have Elijah Mitchell, and you're going to have Deebo. So that whole trifecta is going to scare me. I don't think it's going to affect Kittle as much because Kittle's going to still get his receiving yards. Ayuk, it could, just because unless they utilize Ayuk as, hey, he's the primary wide receiver. Debo's the screen guy, the running back in the backfield, the Cordero Patterson type. And so basically that is what Deebo Samuel is. He's Cordero Patterson of this year. But he is really good at it. And he seems to get better as the year goes on too, if he's healthy. Deebo worries me a little bit with that injury history and stuff like that. And like I said, there's a lot of things that can change. But if Russ leaves Seattle, DK starts to decrease in his value as well, which is in the realm of possibilities. But also DK, you have Tyler Lockett and DK. And I think if Russ stays there, DK Metcalf could be a steal at wide receiver 8, being 24 years old versus being undervalued or being overvalued. There's other wide receivers that are super good that we're going to be talking about next time. In a couple days, we're going to be going through 21 through 30. Some guys that just recovered from injury. Some guys that didn't even play last year. Yeah, we're going to be talking about Kittle himself. Wink. So 21 through 30. Next time, we'll get to it. Just throw out your 11 through 20 rankings if you did 1 through 10. All right. Peace out. Take care. We'll see you next time.